Hi, my name is Tony Usidamen. I'm an under 40 CEO.
The African Renaissance. The concept that the African people and nations shall overcome the current challenges confronting the continent and achieve cultural, scientific, and economic renewal is here, with young men and women taking the lead. Some call them the new school heroes. We call them under 40 CEOs.
Ever since I was a little boy, Tony had a passion for telling stories of his and other people's experiences. Today, he is still telling stories of people, brands, and businesses. And storytelling, as it pertains to business communication, is not about fairy tales or fiction. It is the ability to share a vision using words and images, and sometimes figures, to transport the target audience or prospect from one place or time to another more desirable place or time in the future. My passion is to help companies tell their stories in the most compelling fashion, Tony says, and build powerful, enduring brands, always inventing new, more efficient and cost-effective ways to get their messages out. A path that such diverse and hugely successful brands as Ericsson, SAS, Ecobank, Afrinvest, Total Oil, Kia, Dana Air, South African Tourism and Aquadana have walked with him. Tony Usidamen is the founder and CEO of Uburu, an indigenous business communications consultancy with a global outlook based in Lagos, Nigeria.
Welcome to Under 40 CEOs, Mr. Tony.
Thank you, it's my pleasure.
All right, Tony, it's been said that as a child, you loved to tell stories. Do you still recall the first story you ever told as a child?
I was a very imaginative young man. I had a very vivid imagination. Every experience I had was an opportunity, to tell a story. I remember that I was always able to describe my experiences to my parents in a very flowery, imaginative manner that made listening to me very, very interesting, even as a young child. Okay. In fact, at some point growing up, I would gather adults to talk to them, and everybody just enjoyed listening to me because of the manner in which I presented my stories. And sometimes I got on the wrong side of my elder ones because, in reporting incidents to my parents, when they come back and ask what's been happening in the house, I probably went a little overboard in trying to describe some of the things that took place. So it didn't go down well with some of my elder ones, and they didn't spare me the cane sometimes when they had to. So it's always been a part of me, telling stories.
Oh, you still tell stories today?
Of course, it's what I do. It's like my life. Everyone asks me, how come, as someone who has a background in medical practice, how come you are in PR today? And I tell them, if you knew me way back in medical school, for instance, those who knew me back in medical school, are totally not surprised about the line of business I'm into now, because even at that time, I always had a flair for, creating things. And so it didn't come as a surprise to anybody, because that's like second nature.
Now tell me how storytelling got you into public relations.
Public relations basically is about creating a favorable image for a person or a brand or an organization in the eyes of the people that matter, the people who can affect that business in one way or the other. And in painting that favorable impression, you've got to be able to tell them, what the brand, what the person, in this case, the person can be a brand, the company can be a brand, so I just stick with brand. Telling them what the brand stands for, what the attributes of the brand are. In order to be able to get people to relate to that brand, you have to present it in a simple and clear language that they can understand, which is where storytelling comes into PR, what I do today, or brand building, reputation management, as some people like to call it.
Is under 40 CEOs.
You're a writer. What's your favorite thing to write about?
I'm passionate about PR, so I like every opportunity to share what I've learned in the course of my work with different brands, with people. Last year elections, the campaign period, I was pretty much very vocal, and for the first time I took to commenting on most of the issues that arose from the two major parties at the time. It was the first time I was veering, into writing about political matters, because this was one hotly contested election which got a lot of people interested.
Back to that sad incident that occurred on the 3rd of June 2012 with the air flight 992, I believe, with Dana Air. You seem to be the only superstar that emerged from that whole fiasco. Now, Dana Air was almost threatened, by extinction even at that time. But you basically salvaged the situation. Now, what was your communications strategy?
I would like to once again commiserate with the families of those who lost loved ones in that unfortunate incident. I also lost a very good friend in that crash, and it remains a dark moment in the annals of our country. But crisis in every business is something you have to prepare for. Nobody prays that things like this happen. Every business wants to follow protocols, ensure that their safety, quality measures are all top-notch. But sometimes eventualities do happen, things that you haven't prepared for, and how you manage those scenarios are very, very important. Before the incident, of course, as the head of corporate communications for the entire group, we had a crisis communications plan in place. As the head of corporate communications, I belong to the emergency response team of the airline as well. So if something goes wrong, there's a trigger that goes off, and all the accountable officers, most of the key management staff are informed. It's important that the public understands that when a crisis like that happens, your major concern isn't really about the profitability of the business, but about being there, especially for those who have been adversely affected, letting them know that you're on their side. I mean, it's not about admitting blame in the situation. It's about ensuring that the other parties, especially those who have been seriously affected, feel that you care about them and that you're doing everything possible to alleviate the suffering at the time. Of course, in the case of an accident, several bodies have to come in. The Accident Investigation Bureau, that's the Nigeria investigating authority charged with investigating the accident. Of course, we had the US National Transportation Safety Board come in as well. We had the aircraft manufacturers, Pratt & Whitney from the UK, come in as well. And we ensured that we were open to them, we cooperated with them all through the investigation period. And this is the essential thing, how you communicate these activities to the public. Getting people to hear the right message about what exactly happened has to be something that is systematic, something that is deliberate. Otherwise, the narrative is different, and then at the end of the day, the business comes out looking bad. Luckily, in this situation, we were very open. The airline was very open, cooperative with the authorities, and carried along, especially its loyal customers. And today, about 2-3 years after that incident, the airline is doing pretty well and has actually grown its passenger base since that unfortunate incident. Of course, all down to how the communication was managed and the quality of the services that the airline renders.
I particularly remember this interview with this three that I call the dreaded trio of Chamberlain, Maupe, and Sulai.
I remember those three.
And you went in right after this incident, and you came out unscathed. Now how does one? It made me wonder that how does one prepare for that kind of session?
First and foremost, if you have all the facts of a matter, you have nothing to hide. I don't think it's so difficult communicating your side, as long as you have all the facts of the matter and you have nothing to hide. The direction for the airline at the time was to assist the families with information and other necessary assistance as much as possible, and also to cooperate fully with the investigating authorities. Those were the two major objectives of the airline at that time, and of course that needed to be communicated to the public. So going on that program you just referred to was like talking to anyone. There was no fear because I understood the dynamics of that particular incident. I had all the facts. And of course, like I said, it's important to also empathize with the families, the bereaved families, and the public, which is essential in your communication strategy.
Is under 40 CEO.
How and why you left Dana and then founded your own public relations firm, Uburu?
Prior to joining Dana, I worked with a PR consultancy called Sesama, which is where I owned my skills in public relations, thanks to Alima Ata of blessed memory. At the time, Dana was one of the clients that Sesama had, and I happened to work on that account for about 2 years. While at Sesama, that Dana poached me, and I joined them and worked with them to build the communications department for the entire group for another 5 years. So in all, I can say I had worked on the Dana account as a consultant and as a staff for all of 7 years. 7 years is no small time, to spend in a company. And I had given Dana a lot, particularly standing with the airline through its darkest moment and helping it get back on its feet. At the time, I thought I had given my all. I couldn't do much more than this, and I needed a new challenge. After trying, of course, to secure a job with a few companies that I penciled down unsuccessfully, I felt that it was time to launch out on my own. I had the experience working with Sesama and with Dana and the different brands that I had the privilege of working on. I also had the training because in the course of the 7 years, I had attended a lot of courses, a lot of training, and more importantly, I had a network of friends, influential friends who could support a startup like mine. And so in June of 2014, Uburu was born to provide PR services to companies in Nigeria and West Africa. Uburu, by the way, is from the Igbo language, and it simplifies brain or creativity. So we are a small team of people with big ideas. We help companies with big ideas.
Who are the clients you're working with at the moment?
At the moment, we work for one of Nigeria's leading investment banking firms, Afrinvest. We also, not coincidentally, do some work for Dana companies, for Dana Motors, for Dana Air, and for Aquadana, Ashmina Limited, makers of Aquadana. We also do work on project-by-project basis for Art House Contemporary, which is into the business of promoting Nigerian arts and auctions, works of Nigerian and some West African artists on a yearly basis, a yearly auction. And we work for a brand also called Cuba. It's a dance company, one of the most popular in the country today. We've helped with production of promotional materials, videos for that brand. At the top of my head, these are the brands that I can remember, but yes, we do work from time to time for other brands on an ad hoc basis.
What is the key advice that you would give to a budding, business about the best way to project the image of the firm?
Every business needs to have some form of communication with its target audience, and PR is one of the ways you can do that. Of course, there are other means as well, what we call the integrated marketing communication. There's advertising, there's personal selling and all that, but PR is my forte. So every business needs to project a favorable image. But what is essential for small companies is to study who their actual target audience are. Are they on social media? Are they on traditional media? What times of the day do they consume media? How do they consume media? On their phones, on their laptops, in their offices? These are important questions. Once you're able to narrow down, who your target audience are and determine how they consume media, you can then tailor PR to target specifically those segments that you have mapped out. And apart from word of mouth for your friends, which is an important tool in PR, social media, the very affordable ones, Facebook, you don't pay a lot to promote your brands there. You can get on Facebook and then sell your brands, talk to your potential target audience here. You don't have to be on TV, to do that. So people need to look at their business, tailor their PR solutions specifically for their business, because in PR, there's no one-size-fits-all approach. If we can understand this and we can try to tailor services for our own segmented audience, then PR will be easy to employ in starting up our businesses.
Under 40 CEOs.
Tony describes what he does as going beyond explaining the features and benefits of products or services to creating lasting personal connections with prospects, helping them imagine new perspectives to the product or offering, and inviting an empathetic and transformative experience. It is about creating a vision of a better outcome or improved performance that's both logical and realistic. Tony is also one who is deeply passionate about not just branding and PR, but Nigeria, his country.
In one of your articles titled Nigeria Levic and the Imperatives of Nation Branding, you mentioned that Nigeria needs a public relations company to handle and manage its image. Now, let's suppose that you were handed the brand Nigeria today. What's the first thing that you would do?
I would normally start with an audit amongst people to understand how they perceive the country. Of course, a different audience would be the Nigerians themselves living at home, Nigerians abroad, and then foreign nationals as well. So after doing an audit, we know what the likely problems are. But of course, we would have got a lot more information, about what the perception is. To really address the problem of Nigeria, I think you need to start from Nigerians themselves in, tailoring your public relations output. We need to have the people believing in the country again. In order to get the people believing again, we need our leaders to start to do the right things, okay? You can't create an image that is not there. That is the truth. So our leaders need to start doing the right things. All of the indices for a good or developing country, a country that is well on its way to sustainable development, all of those indices, level of healthcare, quality of infrastructure, education, all of those things have to improve. When all of those things improve, then PR helps to communicate that to Nigerians so that they feel a sense of pride. They feel that things are starting to work. And when Nigerians begin to feel that things are working, then they would also, carry that positive attitude to people that they meet in and outside of the country. It has to be triggered by statecraft. By statecraft, I mean good governance, good government policies. The people need to see that things are actually working, and we have to use all of these instruments, music, arts, culture, sports, to communicate the good that is within the country.
So what was the last challenging scenario that you had to manage for a client, and how did you manage it?
Oh, well, in this line of business, challenges crop up every day. Of course, the Dana case comes to mind, but there are several other, challenges that, one faces every day, especially if you do, if you're in the field of crisis management, like I have been, because of my work with Dana, I've had to do a lot of work for many other clients. Unfortunately, until the clients decide to make it public, I'm not at liberty to talk about some of these challenges and how I've resolved it. But trust me, in this line of work, challenges do come up every day. And as a good public relations person, you have to be on your toes. You have to be on top of every matter.
Tony, you've received quite a bunch of awards and accolades over the years. What do they mean to you?
Your work is recognized by the people that matter. It means quite a lot to you. It's first and foremost, it reminds you that yes, what you do actually impacts people. So you endeavor to do it better so that you can continue to make that kind of impact. And of course, it gives you the needed push and encouragement, the needed motivation, to go out there and do more. I'm not one to blow my trumpet, but yes, whenever I get these recognitions, I'm always very appreciative.
What was the last key challenge that you encountered as a business, and how did you resolve it?
And first and foremost, as the one with the vision for the company, I don't have all the technical expertise in every area of our work. So, of course, I need to have the right people on board. So the first challenge, of course, is identifying people who can key into the vision that you have and who are ready to deliver at a level, that you have set for the company. So,
okay, beautiful. What are those core skill sets that one requires to lead, and what is your leadership style?
I think first and foremost is recognizing that the people who work with you are your collaborators, which is one of the key things. If you come into our offices and you see the way that I relate with my staff, sometimes it's hard to tell who is the boss and who is the employee, because we have a very, it's an informal setting, and we have a very open relationship that encourages ideas from the bottom up. So nobody is looked at as not being important. Everybody is treated as an important part of the company. We show gratitude in many small ways to our staff to keep them motivated, and we enroll our staff in relevant training for the different works that they do for the company. You have to lead by example as well. Everything you do, the culture that you create is what everyone else emulates.
Is under 40 CEOs.
Tony works hard and is successful at what he does. But does he really take time off work to enjoy the good life that he toils to build? How does he relax? What does he love to do? What makes him happy? I seek to find out these and more.
What do you love to eat?
Pounded yam and egusi soup.
How would you describe your style?
Simple and classy.
What other CEOs do you currently look up to?
Maliko Dangote. Posthumous, I would say Ali Matar, who was like my mentor.
What are your favorite brands to wear?
Funny enough, I don't have any favorite brands. I wear only what looks good on me.
What's your favorite car to drive?
Kia.
What's your favorite travel destination?
Brazil.
What's your favorite book of all time?
My favorite book of all time, To Kill a Mockingbird.
What book are you reading right now?
I read a lot of stuff off the internet.
So lastly, I'd like to ask you, like I ask everyone on this show, what makes you happy?
I think being able to make a difference in somebody else's life, I think I derive joy in impacting other people positively and putting a smile on other people's faces.
Thank you for coming on Under 40 CEOs, Tony.
Thank you, Mr. Fab. It's always a pleasure. Hi, my name is Tony Usidamen, and you too can be an Under 40 CEO.